All right, let's go ahead and get into it. We're in the end game now. The Knicks versus the Heat. It feels like we're in the 90s again. People are wearing baggy clothes. They're doing Tupac documentaries on TV. But let's go ahead and focus on the series. Let's go ahead and start with the Knicks. Their keys to winning the series. I think the number one key for the Knicks to winning this series is Julius Randle and his health. Obviously, he was injured before the start of the playoffs, was able to play in most of the games uh, versus the Cavaliers, and they didn't really need his offensive production for them to win. I don't think that's going to be the case versus the Miami Heat. He was injured in game five. He got hurt in the first half, did not come back out in the second half. They're going to need his downhill verve to occupy Bam Adebayo. I think they're going to need his shot making. If you remember one of the clutch games that he had this year when he hit a 30-footer versus Miami to win the game in the regular season, he's had some battles with Bam. I think Bam's got the better of him, but, he's occupied Bam. Bam is a defensive player of the year candidate. If he doesn't have a guy that he needs to lock onto and defend and guard, he can roam and cause real havoc. So my number one question is going to be Julius Randle and his health. The second question that I have, which probably could be put on our number one, is RJ Barrett. And RJ Barrett cracked his glass ceiling proverbially in the series versus the Cavaliers. He was tremendous. This is a guy that was drafted number two overall. People were down on him. And he was tremendous that series. Hit shots. That's the type of series that can propel you into having more confidence in yourself as a player. After that series and everything he's accomplished, he's going to have to play Miami, and I think he's probably going to be the one that matches up on Jimmy Butler. Can he slow down Jimmy Butler at all? Jimmy Butler just roasted, dragged, filleted Crew Holiday, who, in my opinion, is the best perimeter defender in the NBA. So, I'm not thinking that he's going to shut him down at all, but can he guard him to the point where at least they're not sending massive amounts of help, double teams that leave open shooters all over the court? So RJ Barrett, this is going to be a big series for him. Can he step up to the plate? Finally, my final question would be Emmanuel Quickly. He's another person like Randall, where they didn't really need his production from the regular season for them to win the Cleveland series. Can he step it up? Because again, I think they're going to need him. I don't think that Miami Heat are going to struggle as much as Cleveland did to score. So they're going to need to score more points. I think they can provide a lot of the same defensive pressure that Cleveland provided. So I think that they're going to need his spark off the bench. This is a guy that should have won Sixth Man of the Year, but the Boston Media Mafia does what the Boston Media Mafia does. But just in general, I think he's going to need to play well. I mean, this is someone who's carried them. There was games in Boston and couple other games where he was just, a house on fire. And if he plays like that, they definitely have an opportunity to win. So can he regain his regular season form would be the last question that I have for the Knicks. On the Heat side of the basketball, the number one question that I have for them is the guard play, in particular the guard defense of Gabe Vincent and Kyle Lowry on Jalen Brunson. I mean, Brunson dominated the Cavs series. He left that series as the best player on the floor over Donovan Mitchell, which surprised a lot of people. This kid was getting wherever he wanted. And this is the second straight playoffs that he's done that. And he did that for the Mavs as well, in particular when Luka was out. So, he's the head of the snake for the Knicks. If you ask any of the Knicks fan base, they felt that he was the better player over Randall. He should have been made the All-Star. They like when the ball is in his hands. Randall's a bit erratic, and he showed that. If the Heat can slow him down at all and keep him in check, then I think that they have a great chance of winning. Now, Gabe Vincent is someone who can defend, someone who has size over Brunson's not just going to bull him over. Kyle Lowry, he's a bulldog. It's like he's made for these moments. So can these guys step up and slow down Jalen Brunson would be the number one question. The second question would have to be Bam Adebayo. Can he dominate in that paint? I did not have on my bingo card that Jared Allen and Evan Mobley would be dominated by Mitchell Robinson. I didn't have it on my card that he would turn into Willis Reed, Will Chamberlain, Wes Unseld, where he's just completely dominating The offensive and defensive backboards completely patrolling the paint and mucking it up for anybody who wants to go in and attack. So can Bam, neutralize him? Now, an interesting wrinkle in this series might be that they go with Kevin Love on Mitchell Robinson to allow Bam to roll, in particular if Randall is playing and struggling, or if Randall doesn't play and Toppin is in. Kevin Love is someone who has led the league in rebounding in his youth. So that might not be a stretch to say, hey, Kevin, keep this guy off the backboard. They just came from a physical series where they were dealing with monsters like Brooke Lopez, who's not the greatest rebounder, but Giannis, who, arguably is one of the better rebounders in the league. So it's not like they haven't been, bloodied in a way to get ready for this war, if you might look at it that way. But Bam, can he dominate? Can he give them some offense? Again, he's not dealing with the defensive forces, the rim protection that he dealt with in the previous series. So Bam would be my number 2 question. And finally, the last question is going to be the 3-point shooting for the Miami Heat, in particular Strus and Duncan Robinson. So both of these guys, more was put on their plate when Tyler Hero got up, and Duncan Robinson in particular definitely stood up and met the challenge. Is that going to continue versus Miami? Is that going to continue versus the Knicks? Excuse me. The Knicks, I don't think they're going to be able to guard Jimmy Butler. So I think it's going to lead to them sending multiple double teams at him to slow him down. That will be very effective if these guys are not making shots. If they're making shots, that doesn't make it a tenable defensive strategy. So, their 3-point shooter in particular, Strus, now that Hero's hurt, was a bellwether for whether they were going to win or not in the regular season. I think it's the same in the postseason. The guys shot it lights out versus the Bucks. If they shoot it lights out versus the Knicks, they have a very, very good chance of winning. So let's go ahead and get into the prediction. I'm going to go with the Miami Heat in 6. Again, I just don't think that they're going to have options for Jimmy. I think that's going to open up things in the court. I think defensively they have options to guard Jalen Brunson, who's the head of the snake. You're dealing with Randall, who re-injured his ankle. I think it's going to be hard pressed to expect that he's going to be 100% ready to go, but maybe it was just a light ankle, strain, and they held him out as a precaution. One thing that I have not talked about in these previews is coaching matchups. That's one thing I didn't consider when I had to eat crow and when I picked Cleveland to beat the Knicks, and it didn't happen. The coaching mismatch that was Tom Thibodeau versus JB Bickerstaff was very hard for Cleveland to overcome. And I think that you're not dealing with that big of a mismatch, but a mismatch nonetheless. Instead of a 10-point spread, you're dealing with a 6-point spread when you're talking about Spo going against Tom Thibodeau. I think Spo's obviously the better coach. So you put the better coach, they have the better players. And I just think that they're rolling. This win versus the Bucks, I think, can remind them to like, hey, we're pretty much the same team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So we're not your older brother's 8 seed. We're a team that had a disappointing year. Let's bounce back. Let's get it going. So I'm gonna go with Miami in 6. Would not be surprised if the Knicks won the series. Would not be surprised if the Knicks won the East, to tell you the truth, because they match up really well versus Boston and have had success versus Philly. But if I had to give a prediction, which I have to, kind of was the whole point of the video, I'm going to go with the Miami Heat in 6. All right. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. I respond to all the comments. Subscribe. I appreciate the love. And as always, the game is the game.